KUSA in Denver. This is 9 News, number 1 in Colorado.
Good evening, I'm Ed Sardella.
And I'm Mike Landis. Thank you for being with us. The Federal Heights City Council met an executive session tonight to discuss the problems with their police chief and fire chief. It's in response to a series of reports that Paula Woodward will air beginning tomorrow night on 9 News at 10. Now, Paula's with us now. The allegations came from Federal Heights employees, I understand.
Yes, they were very persistent. They kept contacting us, telling us there were problems with both chiefs drinking, driving, and loafing on the job. The City Council decided tonight, until they've seen our series of reports, they won't make a decision on either the police chief or the fire chief. Their meeting was short, basically to let all 6 council people and the mayor know what was happening. Our investigation confirmed what city employees told us about the fire chief. He frequented 2 bars during the day, drinking, then driving. The police chief, we found, did the same. The employees we talked with said they were concerned both city officials weren't doing their jobs. They also felt the chiefs couldn't respond in an emergency because of drinking problems. We've talked with the fire chief and the police chief in Federal Heights to get their responses, as well as informed the city administrator in Federal Heights it appears there's a serious problem. Our series begins tomorrow on 9 News at 10. We'll have related stories on 9 News at 5 and our other newscasts.
An incredible story. Unbelievable.
It's very interesting what we found. Interesting what we did find.
Interesting, the employees are the ones who made the complaints.
It is, isn't it?
All right. Thanks very
Restores
much.
my faith.
All right. Thanks a lot. Ed?
The mystery winners of Colorado's $7 million lotto jackpot finally showed up to claim their money today, 3 days after they won it. The state's newest millionaires are 38-year-old Albert Techi, and 26-year-old Cheryl Penny. They live in Denver. Maria Rodriguez reports the happy couple says the money will go for investments and to take care of their families.
Lotto winners Albert Techi and Cheryl Penny showed up to claim their prize and were greeted by a throng of reporters and photographers. For Techi, who turned 38 today, this will probably be one birthday he'll always remember. Penny says they didn't realize till Sunday morning that they'd won the state's first lotto prize and the second biggest jackpot ever. She reminded Techi to check their tickets, and even then she says she couldn't believe it.
And I said, "Hon, did you check the numbers?" And he said, "No." So I threw him the ticket, and he's going 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 numbers, 5, 6 numbers. We won. I said, "Don't lie to me. Don't even lie to me."
What went through my mind was actually that
checked like about 20 times.
Our family, when we have it, and the family that I have back in Boston is now not going to have to worry anymore.
As lottery workers verified the couple's winning ticket, they explained why it took them so long to come forward. Since they're unmarried, they first had to get an attorney to set up a trust because lottery rules require only 1 signature on a winning ticket. Techi says the couple scrounged together laundry money Saturday night to buy tickets, the winning numbers based on Penny's birth date and her mother's birth date. Techi runs his own public relations agency and worked on Don Bain's mayoral campaign. Penny works for the phone company. Techi says the couple had been planning on marrying in July, but it'll probably be sooner now since his mom's ill. The winning couple will get annual payments of up to $332,000 for the next 25 years for an after-tax payoff of more than $5 million. They'll pick up their first check tomorrow morning.
Life is pretty good. Life has always been good, though. Even when times are bad, life has always been good.
Maria Rodriguez, 9 News.
Well, as happy as they are, the money they won is really pocket change compared to what they're playing for in Pennsylvania. They're waiting in long lines more than an hour long to buy a ticket for the Pennsylvania Lotto game. Its jackpot passed over $100 million today, and it will continue to go higher until the drawing tomorrow. The winner will get around $4 million a year for 26 years.
The mind boggles. Governor Romer is studying the new $4.8 billion state budget proposal sent to him by the legislature this afternoon. That bill increases the amount of money to be spent on grades K through 12 education by $77 million, bringing the total to nearly $1 billion on that education. The governor has promised quick action on that budget bill. Proposed Defense Department cuts released by Secretary Cheney today could end up costing the Colorado Springs area nearly $230 million in local income. Those cuts call for the Army to reduce its active military strength by 8,000, and 3,300 of those would come from the Fort Carson base, according to the commander there. Colorado Congressman Joel Heffley is asking the Secretary of the Army to take all of the troop reductions from units based in Europe and none from Fort Carson.
Tomorrow, the Supreme Court will hear arguments in a case that could change abortion laws across the country, or it could change nothing. Because of the hearing, a lot more attention than usual is focused on the abortion debate this week. Pro-life activists in Denver have announced plans for Operation Rescue, a program designed to discourage women from having abortions. It'll be at an abortion clinic somewhere in Colorado on Saturday, but the organizers won't say which one until later. The pro-life people say they will risk arrest if they have to, if that will help stop the killing.
Our problem in America is we have a prejudice toward the unborn. We really don't see that they are a human being, and I am convinced it is murder. And I've been pastoring here in the Denver area for 15 years, never been arrested, never taken this kind of stand. But I'm happy, if I must take a stand, that this is the issue to do it.
Representative Pat Schroeder, a leader in the pro-choice movement, has pledged $1 to Planned Parenthood for every pro-life demonstrator who participates in Operation Rescue. Today is the 22nd anniversary of the legalization of abortion in Colorado.
Audio tapes reveal more information on the Alaskan oil spill. That's next. And a strong earthquake in an area that has been devastated by them before.
And coming up later, what 5 Points is doing to change its image in our 9 News Extra.
After a number of record high temperatures, we are gradually cooling down.
Last thing in the world the Nuggets needed was another injury, but they had one less body as far as practice was concerned today. We'll tell you about that here from Coach Doug Moe. That coming up a bit later.
The captain of the Exxon Valdez may have used questionable judgment, but he didn't seem drunk, according to those who have listened to recordings of radio transmissions the morning that the big tanker ran aground off the southern coast of Alaska. Those tapes are conversations between the Exxon Valdez's captain and the Coast Guard 30 minutes after the accident last month. Coast Guard Commander Steve McCall says that in his opinion, Captain Joseph Hazelwood didn't sound drunk. Hazelwood's accused of being drunk at the time of the accident. The Coast Guard recordings indicate Hazelwood tried to free the tanker by rocking it, despite warnings that it might sink.
Before you make any drastic attempt to get underway, you make sure you don't, start doing any ripping. I wouldn't recommend doing much wiggling, over. Major damage has kind of been done, and we kind of rock and rolled over it, and we're just kind of hung up in the stern here. We're just we'll drift over it.
Exxon has admitted that it underestimated how much oil spilled from the Valdez. The newest figure is 11.6 million gallons. That is 1 million more than Exxon previously reported. And Exxon says that 31 lawsuits and 1,300 claims have been filed against the company as a result of that spill. And those claims range from $500 to $4 million. One man is dead as the result of a strong earthquake that rocked southern Mexico this morning. The tremor broke windows. It cracked the plaster on several buildings in Mexico City. The quake center was about 200 miles south of the city, 6.8 on the Richter scale. The jolt forced thousands of people into the streets. They feared that buildings would collapse. This quake, however, was not nearly as strong as the one that hit Mexico City back in 1985. 10,000 people were killed in that one.
There has been a big house cleaning in the Soviet Communist Party Central Committee, and Mikhail Gorbachev is the clear winner. The Central Committee sets government policy. Gorbachev has forced about a quarter of its members, 83 people, into retirement. Most of them are members of the old guard. People have been slowing down Gorbachev's economic and political reforms. Among those forced out, Andrei Gromyko, the former president and foreign minister. The attempted recall of city leaders in Netherlands has failed big. In the special election today, Mayor Art Jodas and 4 town council members retain their jobs by margins of more than 3 to 1. The other 2 town council members in Netherlands weren't targets of the recall.
Dialing 911 for an ambulance and then getting it to take you where you want to go isn't as easy as you might think. 9 wants you to know about it next.
Calling 911 when you have a medical emergency in Denver doesn't necessarily mean you'll go to the hospital of your choice. Russell Coddington found that out when he got sick recently. He wanted to go to Fitzsimmons. He ended up at Porter. He asked Paula Woodward to look into it.
He chooses Fitzsimmons because he's retired military, served in 3 wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. In World War II, Russell was a gunner on a B-17. Now he builds models of them.
It was a job, but I wouldn't want that kind of job again, I'll tell you.
His retired military status entitles him to very economical treatment rates at Fitzsimmons, and he likes his doctors there. So when he called 911, he expected to be taken to Fitzsimmons.
I just told him I wanted to go to Fitzsimmons, and he said, no, we can't take you there.
Instead, the ambulance driver took him to Porter Memorial. Now Russell's stuck with a $2,000 bill he can't afford. He doesn't know yet if Medicare will cover some of the expense.
Yes, I was mad about it. I told the doctor when I was in the examining table, I says, I did not ask to be brought here. And the doctor replied, you should have called a private ambulance then.
What Russell learned that day is something you should be aware of. The 911 system in Denver has agreements with 11 different hospitals in the metro area. That means if you call 911 and an ambulance driver believes your medical situation is an emergency, he'll take you to the nearest participating hospital that's best for your needs.
And what that means is they have voluntarily agreed to undergo a scrutiny of what medical capabilities they are and what emergency capabilities they have. And they agree to take any patient that's brought to them by the 911 system, regardless of the ability to pay.
Neither Fitzsimmons nor Children's Hospital have signed such an agreement with 911. Pons stresses in 95% of the cases, the patient is taken to the hospital he or she requests. For Russell, the lesson came too late, but he's making plans to make sure if he has another medical emergency, he'll go to Fitzsimmons. Russell and his wife plan to move closer to Fitzsimmons, and he says next time he'll call a private ambulance. He has their number close by. Paula Woodward, 9 News.
Aside from that big bill, Russell Coddington is doing just fine now. His condition isn't as serious as doctors first thought.
Dave Sweeney's forecast for tomorrow sounds a whole lot like today's, only a bit cooler. He's up next. As I was heading home for dinner tonight, I realized I had the air conditioning on and said, why? The temperature's 62 degrees, I guess, when I was headed home tonight.
Which is still, I mean, 64 is normal for a high for this time of year. So we're still a little bit above average. But we are cooling down, and that's the good news. And the better news than that, especially if you have some crops in the field, is we may get some soaking rain, some needed soaking rains Friday. And until then, a good chance of showers each day until then. So
be very welcome.
Yes, it is good news, and we can get rid of the heat for a while anyway. This is not the middle of June, so let's go right to it. Outside we go. Today was not a record high, although it was still a very pleasant 70 degrees. As we mentioned, 64 is average or normal for this time of year. 49 degrees the overnight low. Currently, the mercury at Stapleton Airport stands at 55 degrees. 77%, I should say, the relative humidity, 29.89 inches of rising mercury, and we have northwesterly winds calmed down quite a bit now at 6 miles per hour. Temperatures at the 10 o'clock hour, there's the Denver 55 as well as the Springs, 54 up in Fort Collins, 50 in Cheyenne, still 62 down in Trinidad, and 60 in Grand Junction. As we show you the high temperatures from the day, 71, and the hot spot was 82, but these temperatures just a couple of days ago were up pushing the 90-degree level, and we are cooling down. We'll drop about 5 or 6 tomorrow, and then 10 Thursday, and 10 more Friday. So by Friday, we'll end up in the mid-40s, we think, with a chance of some wet snow mixed in is a possibility. Right now, these clouds, as we lay them into 3 dimensions, have some thunderstorms that are for the most part dissipated, but there are still some strong storms in Kansas and Oklahoma. We put this on the national scale and then paint radar on top of it. You see the very powerful storms in through western Oklahoma. Tops of those clouds go up 12 miles in the atmosphere, over 60,000 feet. These storms have, for the most part, dissipated. This is an hour old, and very heavy showers and thunderstorms in through the mid-Atlantic region. Let's go to the satellite loop. Take you back 20 hours, put it into motion. This was last afternoon, yesterday afternoon. They dissipate, and then this afternoon, big ones blowing up in Oklahoma. Watch Colorado here. In fact, let's go to the western satellite loop, and as we watch Colorado, and an upper-level low-pressure system, counterclockwise rotation around that. The center ends up in southeastern Washington as we get thunderstorms yesterday evening that move away and dissipate, and then this afternoon, more thunderstorms from the same area. A good chance of the same thing happening tomorrow. Let's go back to that latest map and paint on the frontal systems and some record highs at Kansas City, Missouri, as well as Nashville and Atlanta, and down at Fort Myers, Florida. This cool front will move by tomorrow, putting us in the cooler air, but only about 5 or 6 degrees, as we said, and then continued cooling as we get to the next several degrees. So we'll drop 20 or 25 degrees by Friday. Lows tonight in the mid-40s, but look at the 20s back in Nevada and Utah. Highs tomorrow in the mid-60s and cooling for sure. So we are cooling, finally, with a chance of a late-day shower or thunderstorm. Forecast for Denver goes like this. Partly cloudy tonight with an overnight low of about 45 degrees. Then tomorrow, partly cloudy also, cooler with a chance of late-day showers, 65 or 6 degrees. Thursday, cooler still with cloudy skies or increasingly so, 55 degrees and a thunderstorm. And look at Friday. Hopefully, cross your collective digits, 45 degrees and soaking rain. And then the sun comes back for the weekend.
That'd be nice. That'd be just about right, wouldn't it?
Great, yes. Okay. Hope it works out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Coming up, police officers named Batman and Robin are part of a new image for a maligned part of town. We will conclude our 9 News Extra next.
Something's happening in the Point, something good. The neighborhood in Northeast Denver is up against a slow economy, social problems, and a negative image carried over the past 30 years. But the people there aren't looking back. They're working for a future. And in our 9 News Extra, Linda Benzel, producer Genevieve Henderson, and photographer Sonny Jackson look at what's being done to revive 5 Points.
Denver's new power source, the new Power 1510, with another 20-minute continuous music power source.
There's a new voice in 5 Points. It's KDKO, a black-owned AM radio station with a message to deliver. 5 Points is fed up with bad publicity. Jim Daddy-O Walker says his station will emphasize the positive and defend the points with the power of the airwaves.
Now we're going to show you, and we're going to let everybody know that it's a beautiful place to be, and people down here are just as like people are in Cherry Creek.
Most people don't know what's happening in 5 Points because they don't go there. The media doesn't pay much attention to renovated storefronts, landscaping, or a new grocery store. Denver hears about trouble in the Points, but does it know people there are working with police to cut down on loitering and crime? The community asked for a 2-man foot patrol and nicknamed them Batman and Robin.
The last one?
Yeah.
And that was just...
Susan Ellerby is one of 4 city planners who spend hours each day in the Points working to earn trust and cooperation.
We can't do it alone. They can't do it alone. We have to come together to battle things like the economic climate.
Over $12 million in government grants and loans have been pumped into the Points since 1985. 21% into housing, 6% to spruce up, and the bulk of it to help business. 5 Points Plaza is one of the most ambitious projects backed with government funds. The $1.8 million complex on Welton has only one tenant so far, Rent-A-Center, but developer Tom Yates has several firm commitments. Yates says he and other new investors in 5 Points plan to put pressure on businesses that have a negative influence.
We simply cannot coexist with that element anymore. And so we intend to put them on notice.
Some older businessmen in 5 Points are skeptical about big projects with fancy brochures. McKinley Harris, one of the largest property owners, worries that a failed project could end up in the hands of banks and the white power structure.
That's how you lose a community, through the back door. I'd rather for it to look bad and own it than it look good and not own it. That's what I'm talking about. And see, I can tell you 5 Points can slip through your fingers overnight.
The old-timers haven't lost faith, they're just cautious. Men like Harris worked long and hard to build this community, and they believe the day will come when the economy picks up and the people of Denver will come back to 5 Points.
And they'll come home one day, and I hope to be here to welcome them, that's for sure.
Linda Benzel, 9 News Extra.
San Francisco police are skeptical, to say the least, at the claims of caustic TV talk show host Morton Downey Jr. He says he was attacked by 3 young racists in a restroom at San Francisco Airport. Downey says they drew a swastika on his face with a marker and cut some of his hair off. Police haven't found any evidence that it happened. Downey came to San Francisco to promote his syndicated TV show. It's on independent station KOFY. At the time Downey says he was assaulted, KOFY got a bomb threat, causing the station to go off the air just at the time Downey's show was to go on.
Interesting guy. He should play hockey. Hockey's a good sport.
Put him right in goal, huh?
You bet.
Shoot at him.
Mike Nolan is here, narrowing down the field in the NHL playoffs.
Another team has made it to the Stanley Cup semifinals. The Bruins and Canadiens series is over. We'll show you highlights and also tell you about Mario Lemieux. He had a big night. That when we come back.
Lemieux has to get some sort of comeback award, I would think.
Here's a guy that didn't even think was going to play tonight. Maybe I should stay injured and play that way every night. He is something. Pittsburgh Penguins are just a win away from the Stanley Cup semifinals for the first time. Incredible Mario Lemieux had the neck injury. He came out tonight, scored 4 goals, make it 5 as the Penguins outscored Philadelphia. Final was 10-7. They love Mario in Pittsburgh. Tonight he gave them something to cheer about. Didn't take very long. Paul Coffey with a picture-perfect crossing pass to Lemieux. Pittsburgh led 2-0. He had the first 2 goals. Lemieux again gets Hextall stuck behind the net, goes the opposite way for a wraparound goal. His 4th in the first period, tying an NHL record. Hextall can't believe what Lemieux has done to him. Then he decides to get an assist on this play. Lemieux, nice crossing pass to Rob Brown, 9-3, but Pittsburgh had to hang on to win it 10-7. Lemieux, 5 goals, a total of 8 points on the night. Penguins lead the series 3-2. At the Forum in Montreal, tied 1-1 in the second period. Shane Corson gets the puck, puts a blast back past Patrick Roy, and the Canadians lead, past Lemelin, and it is 2-1 after 2 periods of play. The third, under 5 minutes to play, Stéphane Rocher gets the rebound, and what proved to be the winner as they win it 3-2. All 5 games of the series decided by 1 goal as Montreal avenges last year's defeat by the Bruins, winning tonight 3-2 and winning the series. Baseball this evening, the Milwaukee Brewers moved into a virtual tie for first place in the American League East with Baltimore. They beat Minnesota. Final score was 10-4. And in that ball game, here is a drive by Glenn Braggs. He had 2 home runs tonight to pace the Brewers to that victory as they have started to come on of late. And Paul Molitor got into the act. He had a pair of round trippers tonight. Also, Gary Sheffield, the ex-Zephyr, hit one out as Milwaukee wins big over Minnesota 10-4. Bo Jackson hit his 4th homer in 6 games. He has 7 on the year to lead the majors. Kansas City beat the Yankees. Texas outscored Cleveland tonight. This afternoon, the Tigers in a 3-run homer by Matt Noakes beat Seattle. Roger Clemens, a 3-hitter tonight for Boston. Baltimore leading California. They're in the bottom of the 7th out west. And Oakland leading Toronto 2-1 at the end of 8. National League, Tim Belcher pitched a 5-hitter, spoiled the 75th anniversary of Wrigley Field tonight as he shut out the Cubbies for the Dodgers 4-zip. San Diego blanked Pittsburgh 1-0. Mets edged Atlanta 2-1. San Francisco, as there's some great pitching tonight in the National League. The Giants beat St. Louis 4-zip. Houston over the Phillies 4-1. Cincinnati snapped the losing streak, beating Montreal 6-1. And the Zephyrs opened a road trip the wrong way, losing 10-3 at Louisville. And Reds manager Pete Rose, his problems continue to mount. His latest battle could be in federal court now. Instead of the commissioner's office, Rose under investigation for possible income tax evasion after his alleged bookmaker testified that Rose had bet $1 million with him over a 2-year period. Nuggets, who opened their best-of-5 playoff series at Phoenix on Friday night, went back to work today. They are a hurting team, several players out, and they had to press assistant coach Doug Moe Jr. into action to have a quorum for a scrimmage today. Walt Davis, a groin injury, unable to practice. Danny Shea, still bothered by the ankle sprain. Both should play Friday night. Alston Turner, though, has that hamstring injury, probably will not be ready. Doug Moe says he's ready to crank up his coaching style.
The only people would say I'm yelling this year only because my reputation from past years always carries over. You can have a guy who could be the exact opposite of what he was in past years, and they'll say, oh, he was the same just because of reputation. But I really haven't been very vocal this year at all, but I expect to be during this playoffs. I expect to get back to my old form.
Recognize this guy in the cap and gown, heavyweight champ Mike Tyson, a high school dropout, got an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degree from Central State University in Ohio for being an inspiration to young people today. Also there was Don King, the promoter. Needless to say, he did not get any kind of degree. Broncos draft choices got to meet the press today. They faced a barrage of questions. They also had their pictures taken in Bronco colors. Center of attention, 7th-round pick Melvin Bratton from Miami, who was drafted by the Dolphins last year, didn't sign. Right now his main goal is to rehab that knee that he blew out in his last college game. Said he would work with the Broncos, interestingly enough, Ed, even though he didn't sign a contract, to show his good faith, wants to rehab the knee and play pro football.
That would be nice.
It works out.
But he's kind of forgotten for this coming season.
Yeah, that's the way they're talking. It's going to take another year.
Okay, thanks a lot. Mike?
More profit takers are cashing in on last week's big gains on Wall Street. They pushed the stock market down for another day. The Dow Industrials lost almost 16 points in moderately active trading.
A few more thunderstorms for tomorrow. Mike?
AP says Seton Hall coach P.J. Carlesimo will be named the new head coach at Kentucky this week. Gentlemen?
Boy. On Nightline tonight, animal rights advocates. Are they activists or terrorists? We'll have that at 11:35.
We thank you for watching. USA Today is next. Have a good night.
The closed captioning of 9 News has been made possible in part by Public Service, a company making a difference.